Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first ever episode of Digesting Life. I'm your host, Maya Nicole, and I'm super excited to be starting this podcast journey with you guys and sharing a little bit about my life with you. And I wanted to use this first episode as a way to just introduce myself and, talk about why digesting life and the other possible names that I was going to name this podcast and why I didn't. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, a little bit about me. I just graduated from James Madison University this past December of 2023. My major was in public relations and I minored in human resource development. And yeah, I was supposed to graduate May of 2024, but I did a summer internship in LA this past summer and I did a lot of summer classes, winter classes, and it kind of gave me that boost to be able to graduate early. So now I'm working full time at a PR firm in Richmond. And yeah, so now I want to talk about why digesting life. So I have IBS, and that's irritable bowel syndrome for those of you who may not know. And I was diagnosed with it almost 4 years ago now. So I really wanted to have a podcast where I could talk about IBS and bring more light to the situation. So, a lot of my life has pretty much revolved around IBS in the recent years, and IBS is pretty much directly linked to your anxiety and your stress and your mental health. So, the worse your stress is and the worse your anxiety is, the worse your stomach feels. So, throughout college, there's a lot of changes, a lot going on. And for me, I worked almost full time while going to college. I tried to work as much as I could with IBS, and it was really hard at times. Like a lot of the days you go to school for however many hours, and then you go to work right after and you work all night. And for me, like I didn't get off until 10:30. I worked at Target, so it was like, 6 to 8 hour shifts after getting out of school. So, I had to make sure my stomach felt pretty good most of the time. And that's what I want to talk about in this podcast is like, it's okay to not feel okay all the time, especially with the health issues that you're going through. And IBS is a really difficult health issue to have because it is so different all the time. I've had it for 4 years, and every single year has been completely different. It's different month to month, week to week, even day to day. So, digesting life and what that means to me is I want to be able to digest life and every single part of it. I don't want to just be able to talk about my IBS and like the things I go through with that. So that leads me into why I didn't name it IBS to Success. So that was the other name that I was almost dead set on. And I was talking to my family and my friends, and they were like, well, like, did you really, like, are you actually successful in the realm of IBS? Like, do you feel as though you've conquered it? And that got me thinking, no, I'm definitely not successful completely with IBS yet. And, I might never be successful completely. And I think a lot of people with IBS can agree with me that once you get diagnosed with it, you don't exactly conquer it, you don't become fully successful with it. You just learn to live with it and live better with it because it's so hard to predict what food's going to hurt you. And everybody with like digestive health issues of any kind have trigger foods, but the problem is like figuring out which ones will consistently hurt you or may not consistently hurt you. And I've been doing a lot of research on IBS throughout the last few years, and even now I'm finding out new things that I had no idea about like 3 years ago. And like one of the things I found out was that, your comfort foods, like mine was chicken and rice, and I ate that like all the time for like a year. And then one day it just absolutely killed me. And then it started killing me over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my God, this is supposed to be my like comfort and my safety food. Like, why is it hurting me this bad? And I actually just found out like a few weeks ago that your stomach gets so used to that and eating it over and over again that it's eventually going to be like, what are you doing? Like, we need something different. And it's going to start hurting you rather than like being helpful to you. And so it's important to switch up your safety foods as much as you can. And it's really hard because for a while there, like chicken and rice was literally the only thing, like the only option that I had. But now I try and have like turkey sandwiches with literally just sourdough bread and turkey, nothing else on it, no sauces, no cheese, no nothing. And that's just because that's something that's been safe for me. And it could look so different for other people. And, when I get further into this podcast and the more episodes that I have, I'm going to have some people that are really good friends of mine on here who have stomach issues of any kind to kind of bounce ideas back and forth with, like, and talk about, well, here's my experience with it. Like, does this happen to you? Or can you tell me what it looks like for you? And I just think it could be a really fun idea to have more people on here rather than just me talking about my experience because I've already been talking to so many people. I mean, my mom has some stomach issues, my boyfriend has stomach issues, a lot of my best friends have stomach issues. So it's like for all of us, it looks different. And that's something that's really important to me is like shedding light and spreading awareness to like, if you're going through it, or maybe you're not, but it's like, it's good to know. So, yeah, I did not name it IBS to Success because I feel like I still have a lot more growth with IBS. And that is why it's named Digesting Life because I didn't want to narrow myself to only talking about IBS on this podcast. I also want to talk about college life and post-grad life because obviously right now I think I'm in month 3 of post-grad life and my life is so different now than it ever was, and for those of you who went to college, it's like it is such a different life in that little college bubble that you're in that once you're out, it's like reality kind of slaps you in the face and is like, you're going to work now for the rest of your life and you need to enjoy it. And that's what I'm doing with this podcast. It's like outside of work, this is something that I genuinely look forward to and it excites me. And my boyfriend, he's been helping me with this podcast. He does all the editing, all the stuff behind it. So I'm really appreciative of him for that. And also, I was really inspired by my dad to make a podcast because he started one, I think almost 2 months ago now. And I'm going to give him a shout out. His podcast is called The Guitar Gear Locker. He's been into guitars ever since I can remember. I'm into guitars as well. We have so many guitars and we just love to have fun. And that's what he's doing with his podcast is he's talking about guitars and he's having a lot of people like to interview on his podcast with him. So yeah, you go ahead and check that out if you would like to. He's on all the same platforms that I will be on. So yeah, this podcast gives me something really fun to look forward to, and I'm so excited to have all of my friends on here. I already have a few lined up, and they're so excited to share their stories with you and their experiences. And they're going to be talking about not only like health stuff, but also post-grad life, self-love and self-care, the gym, therapy, like everything. So I'm very excited to start this journey with you all, and I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to this podcast, and I really appreciate all of your support, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Digesting Life. Bye!